This book was written by my very good friend, Mr. Smith. His name is Frank Smith III, and the story is called Dorsey, Dimpletoes, and the Great Big Box. All right. There's a picture for you to see. That's Dorsey Dimpletoes. Everybody see her?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It was just after dinner, and Dorsey Dimpletoes had finished all her food, even the yucky spinach. Good girl, Dorsey, said her mother. Now, you go and finish your homework. You have school tomorrow, and you need your rest. Yes, ma'am, said Dorsey. Suddenly, Dorsey heard a man's voice. Daddy's home, she cried. Dorsey's father was locking the front door when she ran over to him. Daddy, guess what? I finished all my dinner, even the yucky spinach. Well, that's great, baby. Good job. You know, since you've been such a good girl lately, there just might be a surprise for you on the table in the morning. And that's when she saw it. It was big. It was square. It was a great big box. What is it? She said. Is it for me? Dorsey's father explained to her that she had to use her imagination until the morning. What's imagination? Said Dorsey. Well, that's when you think of anything at all. No matter how big or small, no matter what color, you make it up in your head. Now finish your homework, brush your teeth, and get some sleep. Tomorrow just might be a big day for you. So Dorsey kissed her parents, finished her homework, brushed her teeth, the whole time thinking about her imagination. It was now time to go to sleep. After saying her prayers, Dorsey climbed into bed and cuddled up to Mr. Fluffy, her teddy bear. All that good food and her very difficult homework made her feel a bit drowsy. She had to write a whole paragraph on her favorite color. Her eyelids were starting to get heavy, and her last words were, "The great big box. I wonder what's inside of it." So she drifted off to sleep. She began to dream. She didn't know it at the time, but she was about to use her imagination. Dorsey loved birds. She loved how beautiful their feathers were, and they flew so gracefully through the sky. And in her first dream, Dorsey was a robin. She had wings, and as she soared through the air with the other birds, she looked down and she saw it. It was big, it was square, it was the great big box. It was in her dream. Well, she was using her imagination. Dorsey was in a deep sleep as she soared through the air in her dream. But now the dream was about to change. It was time to use her imagination again. Her next dream was coming up, and she had to be ready for whatever it was going to be. In the next dream, Dorsey went from flying with the birds to swimming with the fish in the ocean. In this dream, she was a lovely little mermaid, and as she swam around with the other fish, she noticed something else floating in the sea. It was big, it was square, but it had a tail. It was the great big box. It felt like they'd been swimming forever, but now it was time for the dream to change again. It was time for Dorsey to use her imagination to create yet another scene in her mind, one that involved the great big box. This time, Dorsey was not flying through the sky with the birds, and she was not swimming through the sea with the school of fish. In her dream, Dorsey was not in her bed. She was not in her home. Well, she was not even on the planet Earth. She was in space. She was an astronaut on a rocket ship in outer space. Dorsey was now soaring through space in her spacesuit, riding a rocket ship. She saw all sorts of planets and moons and stars, and she also noticed something connected to the back of her rocket ship. Yes, there it was. It was the same thing that was in her flying and swimming dream. It was hitching a ride back home. It was big. It was square. It was the Great Big Box. Suddenly, Dorsey felt a little strange. She was no longer in her spacesuit. The rocket ship had disappeared. She was still in space, but she felt a little tug. Something was pulling her down. She looked down and she saw the planet Earth. Her home was down there. And as the Earth's gravity pulled her down closer to the ground, she screamed. Was this a dream? Oh no, it seemed very real. And just like that, she woke up. I'll show you the picture in a minute. It had been a dream. She dreamt she was a bird flying high in the sky. She dreamt that she was a mermaid swimming in the sea. She dreamt she was an astronaut in a rocket ship in outer space. But in every one of those dreams, the Great Big Box was there. She also realized it was now morning. She wondered, was the Great Big Box on the kitchen table? She had to find out. Dorsey walked into the kitchen and there it was. It was in the same place that her father left it, but this time it looked different. It wasn't just a great big box. This time it had pink and white wrapping paper on it. This time it had a beautiful bow on it. It also had her name on the tag. The Great Big Box was for Dorsey. And suddenly she remembered, it's her birthday. She was 6 years old today. Now all she had to do was open it. What is in the Great Big Box? That's the end of the story. What do you think was in there? How about we do this? You guys can give me some ideas of what you think was in the Great Big Box, and we'll write those on the board, okay?